Can you hear me? Okay, great. I haven't used one of these before, so I felt like the Secret Service. It's great. I love having it. So, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me to come talk to you all today. I'm really excited to share the work that I've been doing. And I wanted to start with my favorite story. Actually, I've got a timer right there. That's good. So, my father's a storyteller, so I've grown up really understanding the value and the power in telling stories, and this is one of my favorite ones. So, there was once a man, and he wanted to build a time machine. In fact, he was building a time machine. At his house, every day, he was working on his time machine. And his friends, they joked and they laughed with him. They came to visit him every day, and they just thought it was the most ridiculous thing. Every day, he was there working on his time machine. One day they came to visit him, and he was gone. And so was his time machine. They couldn't believe it. Where had he gone? Had he gone to the past? Had he gone to the future? What happens if something happened? Something went wrong? If he never came back? News started to spread, rippling out from their tiny little community into their larger town, into their larger region, into their state. Soon the entire world was talking about this time traveler, and where had he gone? So many questions were coming up. One day, his friends did their regular thing, went to his house to check, see if he'd come back, and he had. He was there. Everybody wanted to know, where had he gone? What had happened? Tell us, tell us. And he said, gather everybody in the Great Hall. I'll tell this story once and that's it. Bring your notepads, take good notes. So everybody gathered into the Great Hall, and he started to describe where he'd been, and he'd gone to the future. And the future was beautiful. There was no air pollution. The streams were clean and filled with fish. There was no plastic pollution. There was no climate change. The forests were abundant, filled with wildlife. People lived and worked together and lived in harmony with each other and with the earth. He went on to describe this future in such great detail. People left that meeting, huge smiles on their face, warm glows in their heart, and they left and they started to build the future that they were going to live, working together. And for the next few years, for the next few decades, they built this future that the time traveler had described. And it wasn't until his last breath on his deathbed that he called his best friend to him. And he said, I have a confession to make. I never traveled to the future. So I really believe that time traveler story holds so much power in it, because we hear so many bad news stories every day. And we've got to be really careful with what we practice. Subconsciously listening to all these bad news stories every day fill our brains, and subconsciously what we practice we get good at, and that's not the future that we want to practice. And so how can we come together with a common vision that's positive, solutions-oriented, and really inspirational for the next generation, for them to come and work together towards for their own future? So I love this story, and I'll come back to it at the end of my presentation. So, do I have a clicker? Okay, great. Thanks. Perfect. So yes, in 2012, I cycled the UK, so starting in the south at Land's End, up to John O'Groats, and actually back down to London. And I did that same project down the coast of California from Crescent City down to Imperial Beach. And sure, a little bit crazy to do all that cycling, but I was so eager to understand from the next generation how sustainability was coming into their educational system. It became very clear to me in high school, actually, that we need the one fundamental lesson that we need to give the next generation today more than ever is the skills, the experience, and the knowledge of how to live well within this one planet, within the boundaries of what this one planet can provide. If we're not doing that in our educational systems, then we're not going to be around to learn the math and to learn the English and to read the books and to create projects. So that really needed to be the heart of educational systems in my mind. And so I was trying to learn from the students. I'd heard from the university professors at St. Andrews what we needed to do, but I wanted to learn from the students how they were being educated around sustainability and taking care of our planet. So got on my bike, cycled those 2 routes right there, and went into many different schools, putting cameras in the hands of students and asking them to tell me the story of sustainability in their schools. So you can check out those 2 projects online still. I learned a lot. I learned that there's many different sustainability projects happening in schools. It's not a new thing, but it's basically mostly happening at the elementary, primary school level. Once you get up into middle school and definitely high school, things start to get really serious and geared towards tests, and there's no time for anything else. So it kind of falls away. It doesn't really follow them through into their high school experience. Often lands on the shoulders of one teacher who carries that for the entire school. If that teacher leaves, the program falls away. It's seen as an add-on, so teachers think, what, another curriculum I have to learn? It's not really embedded into the school, and often costs money too. And then there's no long-term big vision, and so they might do projects that relate to sustainable development, the Sustainable Development Goals, perhaps. There might be one teacher who takes that up for a trimester, but I like to say information in isolation is a waste. Actually, that's not my quote. I'm not sure who said that. But if we're not helping students understand how what they're learning connects to the wider world and to themselves and how it can be useful to themselves, it's forgotten in one ear and out the next. Information in isolation is a waste. So we really want to show students how our systems are interconnected. So that's when I was introduced to the One Planet Living framework. This started in the United Kingdom, just south of London. Bioregional is a nonprofit organization that builds One Planet communities all over the world. In 2002, they started with the first one, where they looked at carbon footprinting and ecological footprinting to understand the calculations behind those different measurements. And through looking at those, building this first One Planet community in London, they understood that if everybody in the entire world were to live the same lifestyles as they did in the UK, or actually at that time in Europe, still I guess, they would need the resources of 2.5 planets. They did the same calculations for the United States. We would need 5 planets if everybody were to live like we do here in the United States of America. So that's a very powerful image, right? I'm not trying to talk to you about sustainability and argue with what it means. Is it economic? Is it environmental? Is it social? No, we have one planet. We're living like we have 5. How do we reduce our footprint? So as they started developing this community, these 10 themes kept on reoccurring, and they're very holistic. So everything from health and happiness through to zero carbon energy. And I've got some sheets, so if you'd like to take a look at those in more detail, I can show those to you. I'll be here till the end of the meeting. And so these are the 10 principles that really help guide us to reduce our footprint. So now, 2019, the movement has grown. Not only are there One Planet communities around the world, there are One Planet companies, One Planet cities, and we have our first One Planet school. I'm going to see if this works. Let's see if we can play this quickly. If it doesn't, it's not a problem. I don't know if that was too far away for you to read, but just to give you an example of how it really is global at the moment. See if I can move it on. There we go. So if you want to go on holiday, there's the perfect eco holiday in Paris. This was developed in partnership with Disneyland as well, but an eco resort there is one of their latest, very futuristic. So if you're looking for a holiday. But right here, some of you may be familiar with, how many of you know Somo Village? Awesome, all of you, there you go, good. So did you know that Somo was the first one planet living community in North America? Yeah, so they're actually growing and building that whole movement right just down the street. I think you'll start to see that a little bit more in the future. They've been a little slow on the uptake. But with Credo High School there, they talk of us as their conscience, so we really push them and prod them to really fulfill their mission. Credo High School is a public Waldorf school. It's college prep, and it's one planet. So 3 pillars with Credo High School. It started in 2011. There are, this year, 425 students, and we'll be growing to 600 over the next few years. It's about 50% from disadvantaged, socially, economically disadvantaged families at Credo. At Credo, over the past few years, we've been working to develop an action plan. We've been working to develop a vision for the whole school, setting goals for where we are going. One Planet Bioregional has just developed this app, so if you go to oneplanet.com, you can create your own personal One Planet action plan on this digital app that they've developed. Companies are doing this, cities are doing this, everything is going to be on an app which you can connect your own lifestyles to. At the school level, we are looking at how we can really embed it into everything that the school does. So we look at how we can embed it into the taught curriculum, how we can, through mapping the curriculum, through different teacher workshops, course assessments, One Planet portfolios, I'll talk a little bit about those. We look at how we can integrate these 10 principles into every event that the school puts on, and how we interact with the wider community as well. That's the school community, and then partnerships, partner organizations, Somo Village, so how we can be a ripple effect. And then we also look at how the campus operates, and are we walking our talk on campus? So do we have goals to reduce our waste? What's our energy use? What's our water use? Are we increasing the biodiversity around the school? So we're looking at really like the school as a living teacher, almost. So here are a couple of pictures of some of the different events and seeing it, bringing it to life in a school. We have lots of beach cleanups, waste characterization studies. Beach cleanups are paired with surf days, so they do some hard work and then they go out and surf and enjoy the day. Working with Clean River Alliance, lots of watershed cleanups. The students go to conferences and the Sustainable Enterprise Conference. And every year we run the Countywide Watershed Cleanup Day with schools in Sonoma County, and we also put on the One Planet Youth Summit, inviting many different schools to Credo to share, so the students can share the work that they're doing and inspire each other and take it back to their own campus. So we had a trash and show, we have a zero waste winter fair where the students bring gently used items from home at Christmas time, and they can exchange those gently used items, so we reduce consumption and waste. Again, another surf day, waste characterization studies. And the One Planet Youth Summit is a great way for us to work with partner organizations. So in the morning, the students share stories about their school and how the work that they're doing individually, gain inspiration from each other and connect. And then in the afternoon, many different local organizations come and run workshops for the students which help build their knowledge, their skills, and their network. So these are just some examples of the organizations that we've had at the school. They are also promoting what they do in their youth programs so that they can build connections with those organizations and become part of their leadership team or get a job with them or an internship. So really trying to build the students' network and build resiliency, community resiliency that way. Just, I won't read through all of these, I don't think I have time, but just a couple to touch on. We've cut our waste from £15 per student per year to £7 by increasing our compost, our waste from a dual system to a tri-bin system, and now we actually have a worm bin too, so we have composting and we like to feed our worms. So that's a good one that we're proud of, but we've got still a lot of work to do there. And then our students can create a portfolio, a One Planet portfolio, and I'll go a little bit more into this, where if they complete their portfolio, they graduate as a One Planet scholar. They are putting this on their college applications, and we're seeing that colleges are really liking this and giving students financial scholarships too. So we're really increasing this scholarship, this One Planet Scholar program. So the power of using this framework, I have visited many different schools and seen sustainability and sustainability initiatives in many different schools. But what I really love about using the One Planet framework, and trust me, I'm actually not paid by One Planet, so I'm not just promoting them to you. What I really love about that framework is that it's simple, right? We're all on this one planet together, so it's hard to disagree there. You can't argue with me unless you're hiding a few other planets and haven't told me about them. It's very holistic. There's the social in there, and there's some more concrete, zero carbon energy, zero waste. It's specific, so it can go into lots of different communities, where in one community the main issue might be waste. In another community it might be drought. So it can really adapt, and communities can learn from each other as it moves from community to community. And really, as you start to work with the 10 different principles, it starts to infiltrate into your life, and everything you do, you start to orient to these 10 different principles, and you start to understand that it's really a lifestyle. And as you do that, you start to understand how interconnected each one of those principles really are. When we bring it into the school, it's really engaging. The students love to learn about the real world and the world that they're going into. So it's bringing the world into their classroom and their classroom out to the world. It's really, really showing to be of interest to students, I think, especially now when the future looks quite scary sometimes. And I love that it's building this common language. Students can go through this in high school. They can build this common language, this common vision. And they might go visit a country in Denmark where they don't speak the language, but they'll have the same vision, the same way of living life, these same values. So we're really building this common vision, this common way that we can work towards a one planet future. And it's solution oriented and really positive, and I think we need a little bit more of that today. So what's next? I said I'd speak a little bit about our One Planet portfolio very briefly, and I'm really excited to start an Interact Club at Credo with Keith next year. That's going to be really exciting to get the students involved with that. But this is what we are really excited about because it doesn't rely on one teacher, student-driven. What we've developed here is an app on your phone where the students can sign up. Meet Lisa Ann. She's actually an avatar, so don't need to worry about any child protection or anything. She goes to Credo High School, and she's developed her One Planet portfolio. She's logged in, created her profile right there. She's understanding that this portfolio is a cross between LinkedIn and Facebook. So what she's going to be doing, she's going to be building her sustainability, her One Planet resume, and it's going to appear in a timeline like you would have on a Facebook timeline. So she does a project with land pods, and she works to take out some invasive plants. She takes some pictures, she writes a short summary, and she uploads it. She clicks on land use and nature, and she uploads her pictures and her short summary into land use and nature. The students can upload videos, workshops, presentations, volunteer work, any activism work they've done, or any other type of work they've done. They can upload this onto their portfolio. Once they upload it, it's going to show up with a timestamp in their timeline, and they'll be gathering their portfolio throughout their 4 years. No teacher's having to teach them any of this. They're just gathering this information for their 4 years in high school. Once they're done, if they have submitted one piece of work per One Planet principle, so 10 pieces of work at a minimum, then they will graduate as a One Planet scholar. They can share that timeline with a college, and that's what we're seeing the colleges really recognize and say, amazing work, you are a leader, you are helping us build a sustainable future. We value the work that you're doing, we want to encourage it, and we're seeing them get $8,000 per student in financial scholarships. So we're really excited about this. Not only is it a way for students to get recognized, it helps them connect. When we're by ourselves around the world doing these individual actions, refusing a plastic straw, bringing our reusable cup, sometimes it's this feeling of, is it really helping? When we can collect all that data and put it all together and challenge the students and say, how many trees can you plant this year? Sonoma County is having a tree planting challenge. How many trees can you plant? Upload it onto your portfolio. We collect that data and we can share it back out with them and say, Sonoma County, you planted 1,000 trees this month. So we can really show how individual actions have a huge difference when we collect them all together. So it will be, I think, will be really inspiring, not just for the future generation, but for us too. So I'm really excited about this. We have a huge goal of within the next 10 years, getting 10 million students around the world to be using this One Planet portfolio. So we are looking for supporters and partners who can help us really reach that goal and spread this app and get students working on it. This first year will be our first year using this portfolio trial. If you want to see some of the ones that have already been submitted, I've got a couple in a folder so you can look at what they look like. Not on this app, it's just a Google folder that the students have been dropping their work into, but this will make it a lot easier to use and really fun for the students. So I'm really excited to see where our Interact Club goes. They'll definitely be using this portfolio because they just go hand in hand. And I'm really, really excited to continue conversation with you all, and I'll be here till the end of the day, or the end of the meeting. So yeah, here's some questions.
Could this app work for a company?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I don't think you need to. I tell my students when they're creating a portfolio that it doesn't have to stop after high school, that they should continue to collect this information for the rest of their lives. It's a living document that they're continuing to contribute to. So, yeah, and also on this app they can also create an action plan for themselves too, their own personal action plan. They can also intern with a company and create an action plan for that company. So that will all be on the app as well. Yeah. How's my time?
You're fine.
Okay.
You're fine. You've got a couple minutes for questions.
Okay, great. Yeah.
What exactly is your role? Are you a teacher at Credo, or?
Really good question. I wish I could answer. So I am the sustainability coordinator, but for Credo. I have been volunteering for the past 3 years with Bioregional to build this One Planet Schools model and this whole movement for them, because I really, out of all the sustainability programs in high schools that I've experienced, Bioregional wasn't doing any One Planet work with education of the next generation, and when I met them I just thought, you have an amazing model, and how are you working with the next generation? You're setting all these goals for the future, but how are you working in schools? And they, understandably said, we're a little busy. And so I was like, pick me, because It's a huge blind spot if you're not working with the next generation and you're building all these things for the future. So, yeah.
Have you worked with other youth organizations? And, I know that the Boy Scouts of the World Jamboree, had a whole sustainability theme. I don't know if they use this model or not, but there's also a sustainability merit badge.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to connect with the Girl Scouts because I know the Boy Scouts, they have their own sustainability framework and they use the Sustainable Development Goals. The reason that I like this more than the Sustainable Development Goals, there are 17 goals. We don't have 17 months in the year, school year. It's too much for a school and for kids to think about these 17 goals, and there's 169 targets that go along with those. So for a school, I feel like that's a little... I use them because they have great curriculum, but I just connect the curriculum into the 10 different principles because they connect really easily. Yeah. Yeah.
So Marika and I spoke here probably about 45 days ago, and Marika's going to be our Interact advisor at Credo.
Awesome.
And our goal is to establish an Interact club at Credo and use the same curriculum with our Interact club at Tech High.
Nice.
And to hopefully with those two start setting a development curriculum and so forth so that we can push that throughout the Interact clubs within the district. So that's really our goal, and I'm excited to work on it.
That's terrific. That's terrific news.
Yeah.
Great, great. Any other questions? Yes, Jeff?
Just one last, and Ken, you might have just answered, but since you're at Credo, how easy is this to flow it right into Tech and Rancho?
Pretty easy. Yeah, we're starting with 100 portfolios that are going to be our guinea pigs this year using this app, and they know they're our guinea pigs. So they'll try it this year, and once we've got through all the glitches, then we will try and spread it as far and as wide as possible. We already have some San Mateo County on board. The entire county is using the 10 principles and the One Planet framework. So I'd love to spread it here in Sonoma County just as strongly as it's happening down there. So I think it will fly, hopefully, because it can just be downloaded and students can spread it. Yeah.
Terrific.
Great. Thank you so much
Great,
for your
thank you very
time.
much.